Hey, what's going on, everyone? You are now listening to Resilience in Action with Erin Brown. Hello, everyone. This is Resilience in Action with Erin Brown. And our guest for today is Kelvin Weathers. Kelvin is a consultant, speaker, and author. He's a co-author of Amazon bestselling anthology, Still I Thrive. Kelvin, so very glad to have you with us today.
Thanks. I'm honored to be a part of the Resilience in Action podcast. It's a great podcast. I'm honored. I'm glad to be a part of it on your platform. Thank you for allowing me to share on your platform.
Of course. Thank you so much for being here. Go ahead and give us a little bit of background. Tell us about yourself.
I'm a Houstonian, Texan, really. I'm work. I've been in sales in a sense for about 18 years during the day, but also I'm a speaker. I work with universities or high schools. Um, I'm an HBCU graduate from Texas Southern University, and I work with because I'm a first generation graduate. Neither of my parents finished college, so I work with different schools, I mentor also in high school. I'm the oldest of five. I have four siblings. That's kind of a little bit about me, kind of what I do, and I speak. I consult with organizations. Even Friday, even coming up, I have a presentation on student discipline, improving student discipline and teacher morale for Houston Area Association of Black School Educators. So that's somewhat kind of who I am and what I do, and who I am.
That's awesome. What led you on this journey to becoming a speaker?
I wasn't actually in church. There was a gentleman who my great grandfather was a preacher, and we had what they call in church a revival or meeting. And the person who brought in an individual, he said that he saw in me what the person that was up doing with that. He saw the same thing in me. I could be like this individual. I think he knew my great grandfather. So he started, he said encouraging me to, put stuff together, do devotionals, put things together, and I started doing it, and just as I got better and just grew in doing it, and got more confident. Family members, I haven't always had encouragement from family, but I had aunts who were just really encouraging. They would say stuff like, "Hey, good looking," and and people would be like, "Oh, you doing good, you doing great," and even as I was practicing, starting out speaking, they was encouraging me, and as I kept doing it and got better and better, and kind of saw that I had a gift, and that's kind of how the begin. That's the speaking journey, and even with the mentoring, that's something that kind of came about even when I thought it wouldn't have come about because of things that happened to me in the past. But it ended up in being involved with mentoring in a high school. So that's kind of how that journey began. It was kind of like I was encouraged to begin, even in sales and speaking. It was kind of like I stumbled upon it to a degree, I would say.
Gotcha.
I didn't set out to be a speaker, set out to be an educational consultant. It's kind of like I was encouraged and led along that path.
Gotcha. So what happened when you were younger that made you think that this wasn't for you?
Well, I grew up as at one time, and I think I still am, but I was a voracious reader growing up, and but I didn't really see myself as a speaker because of I've never been a really tall. My dad was 6'2", is 6'2", and I wanted to be taller than him, but I never grew to that height as him. I've never been a big stature type person, so I didn't see myself like as this towering. Some people like you think they have to be towering tall, or you know, um, you know, I don't know, Idris Elba or, you know, Denzel or Will, you know, they have to be like this stature type person.
Hmm.
So I didn't see myself in that sense of being that kind of guy or that kind of person. But um, time passed and I saw that I could, you know, I didn't have to be exactly like other people. I could be my own person and still, you know, make a name for myself or make an impact along that line. So I wasn't, you know, I grew up, I wouldn't say, you know, from poverty. I wouldn't say that we grew up really, really poor. We didn't have that much, but I wouldn't say we were dirt poor. But I really, there wasn't that many people around necessarily who were always positive, who were always encouraging. You know, my parents divorced really young, so there was some difficulty and some dysfunction early on that had to be overcome within the family to kind of to get to a certain point.
Hmm. What actions did you take? I know you said there had to be, you know, work within the family to get to where you are today. But what
Mhm.
action steps did you take for yourself
Yeah,
that allowed you to, you know, overcome those obstacles?
that's a great question. I would say reading and being around. When I in elementary school, we had a Spark program. We had a program, and I had teachers that really took an interest in me, who I really gravitated towards. Miss Bryant, if I remember her in fifth grade, and then in middle school, even one year I fell back one year, but I had good teachers, you know, in middle school at Ryan and at the Yates High School. But I think what made the difference was um, even through church and through just other people, they kind of started encouraging me to do things and being involved in organizations and then getting involved in organizations, whether it was speaking, whether it was volunteering. That made a difference I believe, in my mind. Even if I was remember when we were young, we went to Shape. It's a community center called Shape Community Center in Houston, and they teach like that's the first I even knew about Kwanzaa. And they teach, you know,
Mm.
like Black Friday. They teach, you know, certain things. They teach, you know, and how to, you know, I went camping for the first time and some other things like that. So that being a part of these different organizations, I believe made a tremendous difference in my life. I don't know if it passed down to my siblings. All of them are teachers, but it made a difference in my life, kind of to keep me from a path of going nowhere.
Hmm. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Um, did your past play a big role in you co-authoring Still I Thrive?
Yes, yeah. Still, I thrive. It came about because, you know, sometimes I don't know. Sometimes in life you experience certain things and you can become cynical. You can think, is this too good to be true? And when the gentleman was talking about he wanted to have a project, an anthology, I was like, you know, is this really? He was saying he wanted to get a group of people to come together and share their stories and about pivoting and evolving after a crisis, right after COVID began, and talking about how we, you know, people pivoted and evolved. And I used even my past. I used. It's in the book. It talks about a situation where I got lost and in a run-in with law enforcement that wasn't
Mm.
positive. Um, and so that I was able to tell a little bit of my story in the book, in the chapter that I'm in, and so that did make a difference because I was thinking, well, should I participate in it? But once I knew that I was going to be involved in it, I said I need to put some of my past in the book, at least to reference it in the book.
Yeah. Awesome, awesome. I figured as much, but I always like to ask those questions because you never
Yeah,
really know, you know.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what has been one of the most difficult situations you've had to learn how to navigate?
Um, well, I mean, even because of the conviction, the mentor. I applied to be a mentor through the Houston Independent School District once, and I was turned away.
Mm-hmm.
And then after about 7 years, then I was able to be, I was asked to be a part, and I was thinking, are they going to check me again? But I was accepted to be a mentor. So and the I would say that, and also dealing with personally dealing with I'm not a father yet, so that's been a difficult degree. Those are a couple of things I would say that that part of my past and fatherhood, not being a father, that would be I would say the most difficult.
Yeah.
Of dealing with.
Gotcha. You said conviction, and I know earlier you said you had a run-in with law enforcement that wasn't good. Are they one and the same sword?
Exactly. Yeah. To be honest, when we think about even whether it be in Akron, whether it be, I don't want to say George Floyd, but even Dante Reed or whoever, that could easily have been me. I mean, I could easily be not. We wouldn't even be talking because I was in 2010. My grandmother passed, and I was going. I was trying to go. I was going to an event. I was going to a church service. I was trying to just get some kind of help, and I just didn't know where to go. So I was lost on the highway about 13 years ago, and it was a situation where law enforcement said I did something that I said I didn't do. It was an exchange, and there was an issue that happened in that instance where I left the scene where I could have been dead. I mean, I could easily not be living right now because of what happened that night. And so so when I see situations where whether it be Jalen Walker or Jacob Blake or whoever it may be, I realize that could easily be me. That could be paralyzed or could be dead easily.
Yeah, I have a degree in criminal justice, and in one of my ethics classes, we were talking about I'm not sure which person it was, but recently he was arrested, and they put him in the back of a paddy wagon, and he was handcuffed, and they what they called, when I was in class, they said they went the bumpy way, and making those really hard sharp turns, and threw the person in the back all over the place, and now he's paralyzed. There's a level of just complete lack of humanity. There must be, and I know a lot of, I went to school for criminal justice, so I know a lot of law enforcement, but there's just something that's missing in those officers, that they can just have a complete lack of disregard for the human experience. How are you coping with what's been going on recently?
Well, it's kind of it's a catch-22 because you want to be involved in making a difference on it's a buzzword now, talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging, but trauma, I don't, because sometimes though, to see that it can inflict so much trauma, see if you see someone killed or watching. Recently we were a part of I went to Grand Valley State University. They had a black male boys symposium, black men and boys symposium. And when we went to Grand Rapids, Michigan recently, they had a situation where a 26-year-old gentleman named Patrick Loyola, he was now the officer has been indicted for killing him. And that was a situation that they were talking about during this, because I was going there to deliver a mental health presentation. So it's like a constant trauma. I don't believe in constantly, revisiting those images, seeing the images all the time. But I do seek to, make my voice be heard, and through organizations. One of them is Color of Change, and other, as far as speaking out against
Hmm.
injustice, but not revisiting, those images all the time.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to like empathize, and there's another thing to actually where you can easily
Yeah,
become that trauma,
yeah,
and
yeah.
finding that sweet spot where you can
Hmm.
advocate
Yeah,
without it impacting you just at a you know at a
yeah,
what am I looking for, like impact you greatly.
yeah, yeah,
Easy
yeah,
word, but I
yeah.
couldn't think of it. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
book. It's a book out. I'm not. It's your show. I'm not monopolizing your time.
Go ahead.
It's a book out. I haven't read. It's called The Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health. I believe Rashida Walker.
Hmm.
I think she's been on the Breakfast Club, and she referenced the book there. But she's a University of Houston professor. So there. I mean, the images, things like this can have. It affects our mental health. It affects us. This is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month this month, but it affects us. So I don't want to just be immune and not see it, or not, just keep it out of my mind, but I try not to immerse myself in the images.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, what do you do? Like, how do you navigate a moment when you feel like you are taking on all of that trauma? What do you do to take yourself out of that mindset?
I just shut off. I listen to music.
Hmm.
I meditate. I may pray. I just shut. Sometimes, just go riding and just, listening and just kind of getting away, um, or even, doing something, from going to a movie, or just kind of to taking my mind away from
Hmm.
um, what in the bog down of the hardness sometimes of life. Um, and I may sometimes, someone, if, may send me something and maybe, humorous, seek to laugh, but just, kind of, because laughter really is important too.
Hmm.
Um, so those, some, I just, ride or get away or do things like that. Just, pray, those things like I do, kind of not to be, feel like so overwhelmed and burdened down.
Hey, 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 y'all. Listen, it is time for some action. If you are enjoying the content that you've been listening to, I need you to rate and review. That's it. That's all. Make sure you go to wherever you're listening to this podcast and rate and review it for us. We appreciate you so much. Let's get back to some resilience. Gotcha. Gotcha. Those are some great tips and tricks, everyone. So I hope you picked up on that. Um what was it like attending an HBCU? What was that experience like? We're going to change the
Yeah,
gears real quick.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the HB, TSU, Texas Southern. When I went to Texas Southern, it's always been known for the Tiger Walk. It's this big, long walk, long spot down on the campus, like in the center of the campus, next to, you have the Sawyer Auditorium. You have different things in the middle of it, but all that's big Tiger Walk, and all the fraternities. Their information is on the Tiger Walk, and that's where, like, where I don't want to say it's like it's. I'm not saying it's like freak niggas on the Tiger Walk, but I'm just saying the Tiger Walk was like the Tiger Walk was just like the spot to be.
Gotcha, gotcha.
And
Okay.
so, but when I went to TSU, I mean, Megan Thee Stallion wasn't going then, and there was no College Hill on the campus then.
Mm-hmm.
But Texas, attending an HBCU, you learn a lot. You gain, and the connections. I feel like though I still haven't made the connections that I should have made, but the experience of being a part of the culture, the band, the games, the association is just an experience you'll never. It's unparalleled, that kind of experience to have. So I went to TSU after doing undergrad. I mean, doing community college. I didn't start at Texas Southern originally. I did community college, then went to Texas Southern. So I had a great. I didn't have a full-time experience. I wasn't on campus all the time. Like, I didn't stay on campus, but I had the experience of enjoying the time. Even in the midst of working and going to school, enjoying that time of being on and being meeting people and having fun. On the campus and so that I had that experience. It was different though, because it was some years ago then, but I would say it may be the same as now.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, that's something I wanted to know, because I have a lot of friends who have been to HBCUs, and it's just you can tell who's been to a HBCU and who hasn't.
Yeah.
It's just something about the way you carry yourselves.
The swag, the confidence.
That swag and that confidence, absolutely. You exude it, and it's like, how can I get that? Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not. I have a friend of mine. He just told me about I should pledge. He's talking about he would help me in that sense. Some of the reason with HBC, I mean, even with the Greek culture, and other things that kind of builds that it can build that swag. And I mean, like I said, I grew up. I wasn't a confident individual. I wasn't the life of the party growing up, but I had people encourage me. They would say, I'd say my aunts and other people, and they would just like speak. They would say good things about me, and I finally believed it. I started to believe I looked. I started to believe, I could dress. I started to believe I looked good.
Yeah.
And because I thought, growing up, I was a nerd. But I started to believe what they poured into me after a while. Good. So I think that's kind of really what HBCUs do to a degree. Also, is kind of pour into that belief and that belief in yourself and believe who you are, and that you're somebody, that you're destined for greatness, or etc. Yeah,
and you're surrounded by people whose life experience.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not directly alike, but we all share that one common thing, and that if that's all we got, that is enough to build that bond, that that connection.
Yeah.
Okay. You've been saying that you like to read. What's your favorite? What's your top? Let's say your top 2 books.
This is going to be surprising. There's a book by John Grisham, The Firm, and The Coldest Winter Ever.
The Coldest Winter Ever.
I mean, I'm not getting religion. I mean, I read the Bible, but as far as novels, I would say those 2. As far as books,
The Coldest Winter Ever. I read that when I was in I think I was in 9th grade. Oh my goodness gracious, that was a book.
Yeah. That was one of the first ones that caught my attention. Was that book. You have other books, Mother to Son. You have other books, from Langston Hughes and other. I can't, think of those, but I mean, I can think of them, but those 2 come to mind.
Do you prefer audiobook or actually having the book in your hand and turning the page yourself?
I don't know. I guess I'm old school. It's a gentleman. Actually, I mean, he has a book coming out, and I was going to ask him even about, is his book in paperback, because I guess I don't know, I'm a paper person, so I prefer the most people prefer audio and Kindle, but I prefer the actual copy myself.
Yeah. It's nothing like finding that quiet time where you can sit down and actually open a book and flip the pages and
Yeah, and have your marker and flip it, and yeah, that is, yeah, definitely,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, what 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 makes Kelvin Kelvin? Like, what is it that makes you stand out amongst everyone else? What do you think it is about you that gives you that extra oomph?
Mm, mm. Well, I believe my belief and in it's not a rah like Eric Thomas type, but it's an excitement. It's a conviction. I would say, I don't that word. It's a belief in what I'm talking about. It's a passion. I would say passion about what I believe in, being passionate about what I believe in, what I'm conveying to the audience. So what I'm conveying is what separates me. And I believe, my intellect and passion for what I'm speaking about and what I believe in,
Yeah,
that I really believe in. When I believe in something, I have a tenacity about it, and have a passion about what I stand on.
nice.
I think that's what separates me. I don't well, I get in trouble. I don't want to say. I think a lot of people, some people they're great at what they are, but they don't have they don't stand on anything. So they don't have a stand that they take on anything in particular. They kind of waver.
Hmm. Without that foundation, you just
Hmm.
you don't have
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
perfect, perfect. Do you have any advice or anything, any bonus information that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Um, I don't know if we've already said find a mentor or coach.
Hmm.
Um, have someone that can hold you. We need people that are going to help us to not be comfortable, but that's not going to coddle us, but they're going to challenge us.
Hmm.
People that can challenge you to be better, challenge you. There's a I believe Jim Rohn had a quote said that you'll be where you are in the next 5 years based upon the people that you meet and the books that you read, your association. So you want to have people in your life that uh, they can help you. I mean, you can have fun with them, party with them, but people that can challenge you, that want you to be better, that want to that encourage you, that if you're wrong, they're going to tell you. They're not going to always tell you what you want to hear, but tell you what you need to hear. So have a mentor, have a coach. Um, don't beat yourself up. We make mistakes, but we get back up. So um, that's what I would say.
Nice. Perfect, perfect. It's really, really important to have that support system. And
Yeah.
what I've learned over time is that that support system is ever growing, ever changing, ever evolving.
Hmm.
There's some core people in it that will always be in it no matter what.
Hmm.
There are some people who are in your life for a season,
Yes.
to
Yes.
teach you
Yeah.
whatever it is you need to know.
Yeah.
And then they go away and it's absent and it's okay.
Hmm.
Um, you can't you can't be this big, tall, beautiful tree and still hold on to those dead leaves. They have to fall
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
So knowing that everything is a cycle and being able to navigate that is very, very important.
Extremely important. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Um, how can we support you? How can we find you on Facebook, Instagram, your social media?
Yeah. I don't know why I'm getting my IG back up. I had an Instagram page when I was doing I'm still a life insurance agent part time, but
Hmm.
I had an Instagram page that was up, but for some reason it was put down. I had to get it back up. But you can find me on Facebook, Kelvin Weathers. You can find me on LinkedIn, Kelvin Weathers. Um, You can also you can go to Amazon and get the book, Still I Thrive, or you can contact me or email me about the book. But you can find me, you'll find me on Instagram. You can find me, you can email me, kelvinlw@hotmail.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn under my name, or on at Facebook under my name as well. So yeah, you'll see me around. I'm pretty. I mean, they can find me. They can Google me. They'll find a lot of stuff on Google. They'll find the good, the bad. They'll find the great, and whatever they want to find almost if they Google. So we Google everything now. So definitely, and then hopefully, I believe I may start a podcast. So you may find me there when that comes out.
Oh, I'll be on the lookout for that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I've been putting it off. I've told individuals who work for colleges about interviewing them for it, but I just need to put my foot down and get it done.
Listen, this is probably one of the best things I've done. Even on days when I'm like absolutely exhausted and I know I have to record, I am pumped because it's just like, this is one of the things that I'm supposed to be doing is interviewing people and having your stories impact other people and allowing them to, thrive and ultimately have a greater human experience. So the podcast life is a life that I definitely highly recommend.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Perfect. So we're going to wrap it up, but I have one final question for you.
Sure.
What does resilience mean to you?
Means taking no for an answer. Not taking no. What I do in sales, it basically says you got to get 3 or 4 no's before you let somebody go. But it means that you don't let life circumstances defeat you, because you don't let negative experiences defeat or grip you to the point where you don't keep going in spite of them, because that's what resilient means to me. Keep pushing, to keep going, to excel in spite of circumstances, in spite of adversity, in spite of even the things that you have no control that affect you. But you still continue to move forward in spite of it.
That is resilience in action.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Well, I don't want to give the technical. I mean, I don't.
That is.
The technical definition. Overcoming adversity, about but I've just taken note, continuing to push, continuing to push forward.
Finding that anchor. I believe you find that anchor, and no matter what it is, you can keep going because you have that anchor. You find your way through the obstacles, you find your way through the tragedies and the trauma, and you just find it in you, that grit to keep going.
The grit.
That's perfect. Well, Kelvin, thank you so very, very much for spending a little time with us today. I appreciate you hanging out and even reaching out to me to say, hey, like, I want to jump on there. So
Well, it's been a pleasure to be a part of this. You got a great thing. People need it more than ever. I mean, resilient people need to know about resilience. There are individuals who have books, resilience rerouting, whatever. We need to know that even though life is difficult, that we still can overcome. With suicide on the rise, teen suicide, all that's going on, we need to know we can still push forward. So, Deb, thank you for being a part, for hanging out with you today.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Resilience in Action with Erin Brown. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe. And I want you to remember one thing: resilience in action will always lead to a greater human experience.